Alright. Alright. I would like to begin by acknowledging the Wiradjuri people, the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today. I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any First Nations people here with us. Right, bit of small talk first, because apart from the acknowledgement, bit of small talk. Nice and cold, isn't it? It's going to get colder on the weekend. Make sure you're rugged up for that one. But be thankful that you're not in Blaney or Lithgow. Yeah. Anyway, on to today's lessons, which is it's all about NAIDOC week, isn't it? It's NAIDOC week. We'd all be celebrating, but again, it's a bit too cold for that, isn't it? Yeah. Now, I am aware of the barbecue on the 20th of October. Get ready for that one. Anyway, I have here all the capital cities in Aboriginal names. So, we got Sydney, which is Warring or Gadigal, which is the Gadigal of Durug Nation. Melbourne, Wurundjeri Woiwurrung of Kulin Nation. Darwin, Garamalel or Gurmish, I have trouble pronouncing this one, which is, I can't read my own handwriting. Larrakia country. Hobart, Naruluna or Palawa Kani country. And Adelaide, Tarn Tenya, Kauna country. Brisbane, Meanjin, Turrbal and Yagara country. Perth, Boorloo, Wodja, Noongar country. Canberra, Canberra, Nagunarol and Ngambri country. I think those are silent. Like I said, I've always struggled with the pronunciation of these things. I've studied French a little bit and I still struggle with the pronunciation of that. That's from commonground.org. And according to the librarians, you can trust information from .org websites. I have here, various notable Aboriginals. With politics, rights and law, we have Eddie Mabo, 1936 to 1992. Forgive the red pen. I know you're not supposed to write in red pen, but I had nothing else on me. American man from the Torres Strait, whose 10-year legal battle led to the High Court's historic 1992 Mabo decision, recognising Indigenous land rights into Australian law. Neville Bonner, 1922 to 1999. A Jagera man and the first Aboriginal Australian to become a member of the Parliament of Australia. Vincent Lengiari, 1919 to 1988. A Wiradjuri man who led the Wave Hill walk-off in 1966. A pivotal protest for Aboriginal land rights and fair wages. Although, if you really want to look at the objective, it was more of a strike. See? Strikes work. Lowicha O'Donoghue, 1932 to 2024. A woman and powerful advocate for Aboriginal health, welfare and reconciliation. Sorry, I really can't pronounce. I'm struggling to pronounce some of these words. Really going to have to study more, but yeah. And a powerful advocate for Aboriginal health, welfare and reconciliation, who became the first chairperson of the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Commission, or ATSIC. And of course, we got Charles Perkins, who was instrumental in the 1967 referendum to recognise Indigenous people as people under the Australian Constitution. So in arts and entertainment, we have Albert Namatjira, 1902 to 1959. A Western Arrant painter who pioneered contemporary Indigenous art and became internationally famous for his like that wet painting and stuff. Those wet paints for his cultural landscapes of the Australian outback. So, So yeah, watercolour, that's it. Watercolour. Damn my own handwriting. Watercolour. That's the word I'm looking for. Archie Roach, 1956 to 2022. A Gurindra and Bonjalong musician and activist whose song Took the Children Away shed light on the stolen generations. David Enopon, 1872, 1967. And a gradually inventor and preacher who contributed to modern sheet shear designs, and is famously featured on the $50 note. Sorry, I don't have a $50 note on me. Cost of living and all that. Sports. Kathy Freeman. Does she really need an introduction? Born in 1973. Okuko Yalingo and Goodlife sprinter, whose iconic 400-metre Olympic victory at the 2000 Sydney Games remains one of Australia's most famous sporting moments. And I remember it well. I was 7 years old, living at Nen's house when that happened. So, yeah. Yvonne Goolagong, or Coley, 1981. A Wiradjuri woman and one of the world's greatest tennis players, winning 14 Grand Slam titles. Nice. Paddy Mills, 1988, an Indigenous Australian basketball star. Kakufu Naiva. Like I said, I really struggle, and I've been studying French for years. I still struggle with pronunciation and some of that too. So please bear with me on those. I will learn them properly. And I have known of some of these ever since I was a kid, but again, I've always struggled with the pronunciation of it. Who led the Australian basketball Australian Boroughs to an historic Boomers, that's it, to an historic Olympic bronze medal at the Tokyo 2020 Games, and was a flag bearer. Adam Goods. And an Aguma for the man. Dual Brownlow medals in the Australian Football League, AFL, and a dedicated activist for Indigenous rights and education. History and resistance. Bennelong, circa 1764 to 1813. A senior Kura man who acted as a key intermediary and ambassador between the First Fleet settlers and the Indigenous people of the Sydney area. And Pomegaway, circa 1750 to 1802. A Bidjigal man from the Sydney region, known for leading a sustained armed resistance against British colonial expansion. And of course, there's Vincent Namatjira from another one in the arts and entertainment, who did a fantastic watercolour picture of Gina the Hutt, or Reinhardt. No, Gina the Hutt's better. Anyway, I've got a couple of books here. Always was, always will be, by Auntie Faye Murr and Sue Lawson. Auntie Faye, as pointed out to me recently, was on the drum, the ABC. I did miss that. I didn't watch the ABC much apart from the Chasers War and Everything. Chasers War and Everything is hilarious. Go watch it. It's hilarious. But, yeah. Anyway, you've got European Arrival. The Australian Freedom Rides, 1965. And of course, the Voice Referendum, which I am wearing the Yes t-shirt of. Now, just quickly, I'll just say this book. I'm having trouble holding it and the phone at the same time, so... Seriously, it's a good read. You can get it at the library or you can buy it from the bookshop. It's a good read. It really is. And growing up, edited by Anita Heiss, Growing Up Aboriginal in Australia. Yeah, it's just various stories of Aboriginal people giving their experiences growing up in Australia. Nothing too political about it, just good read. And to touch on the Voice Referendum, well, at the time I thought it was a great idea. Now I realise Anthony Albanese is a two-faced sucker. Well, we all know what Anthony Albanese is, surely. I mean, hey, it's not like Hanson and Great. It's not like Queen Boganella and Great Job Angus are doing much better, but no, I wouldn't recommend any of them. I repeat, any of them. I don't recommend Albanese. I don't recommend Waters. Don't recommend Hansa. I recommend none of them. You know where I stand on that. Anyway, and we better wrap this up because, yeah, time for me to go back into hibernation, isn't it? Ooh, I can hear all the collective sighs of relief in there. Okay. Oh, and just one last thing. Can't stress enough. There are no centralised leaders in my movement. Not even me. I'm just, at the end of the day, a messenger. That's really all I am. There's nothing more to it than that. Because get this, to make any decisions in our group, you have to put it to, get this, a vote. Yeah. Majority wins, etc., etc. You know how a vote works. Oh, one more thing, what the hell. Meanwhile in England, you got Nigel Farage deciding to quote-unquote resign, but, you know, that's just a ploy to try and see if, you know, the constituents are voting back in. You know, after taking $5.5 million of establishment money, then, you know, saying to his constituents it's a vote against, quote-unquote, against the establishment. After, of course, taking establishment money. Bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it plays out for him. Anyway, always was, always will be Aboriginal land.